Hi, and welcome to Wrongway. I'm Mr. Wrongway, and today we have a beautiful sunny day somewhere in the world, certainly not here in Warszawa in Poland. But today I'm going to tell you about 10 things that EUC manufacturers need to improve in their wheels. So, let me tell you more about it. Now, EUCs have already come a very long way since their inception and since they became a real mode of transport, and they're really awesome compared to what they were even a couple years ago. So soon I'm going to also make a video where I'll compare an old EUC to a new EUC, and well, then you can see the difference. So with that said, there's still a long way to go to make those things perfect or better. So in no particular order, I'm going to tell you what the issue is, how does it affect the rider, and how we can fix it. So let's get into it. Ooh, it's very breezy outside, but with my new helmet and really warm gloves, I'm pretty good now, even in this temperature and this time of the year. Let's start out with a personal favorite of mine, with mudguards. Now, I've been reviewing PEVs for a long time now, and when it comes to mudguards, you either love them or you live in Southern California. Mudguards are amazing. They keep us clean and they keep us not wet when the weather is like this. Now, I know it also depends on the use case of the machine, what kind of mudguard you need. I know if you have a cross motorbike, you won't have the same amount of mud guarding as in a city moped. However, I would like some things to be improved in all EUCs. First of all, this part here, we will never ride on it. Mudguards need to be extended here down to about this point, because then you will not have the dirt here on your EUC, which you can see is accumulating around, and also on my feet. This is why those shoes are wet here on this part. And I'm yet to see a good execution of the front mudguard on a suspension EUC, because to date there was none. Only non-suspension wheels and older wheels like the Bigot Nikola, like the Kingsong 14D, 16S, had the front of the EUC built in a way that it won't actually make your shoes wet or dirty, or the shells. So the solution to that would be to especially have the side of the tire covered, because it's not covered right now. Have it a little bit longer here to the bottom, and maybe wrapping around the sides a little bit. I know it's not as easy to execute because the wheel still needs to move around as there's suspension, but if you would have the tire sort of encased around in a plastic mudguard all around, well, this would fix a lot of issues. Inside, it would protect the shell from getting more mud here, which scrapes, you can see here, which scrapes against the sort of the mudguard against the shell. So if this would be encased, this wouldn't get so dirty. I would really like to see some sort of out-of-the-box EUC with suspension that has good mudguards. And another water-related thing is that not all EUCs have a IP rating. I would like all EUCs to have an IP rating, both for the shell and especially also for the battery. And along with the IP rating, I would also like to have water-related damage covered by warranty. Because it's not only the fact that you want to have an IP rating and the thing should be water resistant or waterproof, you also want to have warranty if something breaks. Important. Now, InMotion is, I think, still the only brand that provides IP ratings for the shell and the battery and the controller, which is amazing. Good job on that. But Kingsong has batteries that are totally not water resistant. Other manufacturers do have their batteries shrink wrapped and isolated, however, without an IP rating. So all across the board, I would like to see an IP rating, water resistance, and waterproof batteries. Ooh, it's getting really frosty. I had to put on my gloves. Ooh. Anyways, next thing I wanted to talk about is charging sockets, charging plugs. Now, what you usually see on EUCs nowadays are those GX type plugs. Hopefully you can see it, yeah. This is a GX16-5. My problem with those plugs is that the prongs are sticking out. Now, I would like to see a different sort of port. There is a better isolated port for electric scooters now in the European Union, which has the poles separated. Or we could just use a way simpler plug with just 2 prongs or 3 prongs, so plus, minus, and communication, like for example the XT90 plug with a communication wire. Those plugs can take a lot of current and they are just like simpler than having two ports. You can just have a lot of electricity going through one port. And this is not the only issue with those ports. Now, if you have a GX16-6 like the Kingsong S22, the Leaper-Kim Patton, then it's very difficult to put those in. You just need to finagle around, turn them around, and maybe at some point you are put to plug in, or you can even bend a pin that is inside. So I would like to see updated charge ports on EUCs. Hell, if the charger would be inside of the wheel, you could even put a Type 2 connector here. I don't care. I mean, it will be a lot more expensive, but I would like to see a more robust solution for the charging plugs on our EUCs. And related to that, the fourth point on my list is chargers themselves. We are already getting better with chargers. We have much faster chargers, and the days of charging your EUC in 10 or 15 hours, like the 16X, well, this one is still on sale right now with the charger. Those days are long gone, and we get pretty fast chargers out of the box. But there's always room for improvement. So what I would like to see is having more intelligent chargers right out of the box. For example, my Honing Ning charger, you can set up the voltage on it, you can set up the amperage, you can choose different plugs for it. Well, then you have just one charger that does it all. I would really like to see a more smart solution out of the box, a quiet solution out of the box, because some of them can be pretty noisy. And thirdly, a lighter solution out of the box, because those things, they're not that easy to carry in your backpack. Added to this point, couldn't we just have the chargers built into the thing itself, like electric cars and electric bikes have them? Now, I know it would make the EUC a bit bigger, a bit bulkier, but honestly, I would really prefer to have a EUC that is a kilogram heavier and I just carry a cord with me than having a kilogram heavy charger in my backpack. So if a EUC manufacturer puts a charger into their EUC, sign me up. I would love to see that. Now, lighting is something that is really important to me. And initially, I just cared about the brightness of the lights, but now I care also about more stuff. So let's start up with point number 5 with the front light. Is it the 5th point actually? I need to check. Czech Republic that. It is the 5th point, okay. So what we usually get on those EUCs nowadays is a front light, which is a work light. So I have this top part of the light actually covered up, because then it blinds upcoming traffic a lot less than without this tape. Now, why do you use a work light on a device that is meant to be used on the street? Like you can see from here, it's still fine. We go a bit further, and it starts to blind people. It's not actually that bad with the tape installed, but what I would like to see is a light with a cutoff beam like you get on motorcycles, cars, and even like e-bikes. So until this point, only InMotion has been successful with implementing such a light to some of their models, like the V13 and the V11. And the V14, which is coming up. And you would think that EUC manufacturers just use work lights like these, or Kingsong uses their super blinding lights because there's nothing else available on the market. No! You go onto AliExpress and there's a plethora of different lights that you can purchase aftermarket that works with your EUC. On my veteran Sherman S, I will actually have a Cyclope light by AlienRides and Mr. Mayert, which will have high beams and low beams and a much better beam in general than this light. And still in the subject of lighting, let's talk about the rear light. Now, there has been also some progress in terms of the rear lighting on wheels, but it's in most cases still way too dim. Can we just get bigger lights in the back? I will get a light from Mr. Mayert, AlienRides, for this wheel as well in the back, which will be way better visible than this. So yeah, EUC manufacturers, can you just give us better taillights, more powerful ones, more visible ones? Lastly, when it comes to the lighting department, this is point 7 on my list, is turn signals. Now, turn signals are a thing in EUCs because I don't know why. Like, maybe it's just because there is already a gyro installed in the wheels and then they just use the software to make the tail light sort of blink to one or the other side when you're leaning. this is not how turn signals should work. First of all, they are a bit confusing because they always have different patterns and they work in a different way. And second of all, you don't turn on the turn signal when you're turning. You should turn it on and then later change the direction that you're going. Sorry, EUC manufacturers, this is a dead end. If you keep using them just as a gimmick where the wheel leans to the side and then the taillight makes some sort of patterns, this is pretty pointless. Let's leave it be. Either make a proper turn signal, which is with the color orange, somewhere more to the side that is activated either by a button or a remote, or leave it be, please. The 8th point on my list is suspension efficiency and longevity. And when it comes to protection against dust ingress, water ingress, for now, Veteran with their Fast Ace oil spring suspension is the only one on the market which has somehow figured out the longevity for the system. Now you will still need to do some maintenance on it, and 2 Cells 1 Pack made a great video on that recently. However, there's some protection against this dust and water, sand, bits and bobs ingress. Oh, and the upcoming Emotion V14 will have that protection too. EUC manufacturers, if you include suspension in your EUC, make sure that you can maintain it properly, that the maintenance is easy, and make sure that the suspension can last longer without any maintenance. Now, the 9th thing on my list is a easy tire change. And until now, only Bigode actually, out of all the companies, has a easy tire change system sort of implemented. There you need just a couple of screws and you can change out the tire or change out the tube in your EUC without disconnecting any cables, without getting rid of, all of the screws here on the top. Now, other manufacturers, in Motion, Kingsong, and Veteran, you need to take half of the wheel apart in order to change a tire. I think that a lot of EUC manufacturers just take the tire change as an afterthought and not a thing that is important because you need to change the tire after 3, 5, 10,000 kilometers. So EUC manufacturers, if you make an EUC, think right away that we will need to change a tire, and we want this process to be easy, streamlined, and not require a lot of tools. And the last point on my list, and definitely not the least important, is documentation and instructions on how to work with the EUC, what you need to do in order to change something out on it. Across the board, I would like to see instructional videos, how to change the most basic parts at least on the wheel, like how to change a tire, because every single one of us will need to do that at some point. How to change a control board, maybe how to change the fuses, how to do suspension maintenance. And not only with video, I would actually really like to see it in the instruction manual. Apart from that, it would be also great to know which parts are used in the EUC, like which screws, which sort of gauge wires, so we could easily get access to spare parts. Further on, if you do make changes to those new EUCs, make sure that you write down everything that is changed in the newest batch and let us know which parts work with which other parts. So there's been a time where Bigode has been releasing a lot of boards. I believe they still do release quite a bit of stuff for their wheels, and not all of it was compatible. And what does work with what? How can you maintain a wheel? How can you service it? This is information that we need from the manufacturer because, well, they are the manufacturer. More documentation, more instructions, more guides how to fix stuff on wheels would be great to see. Now, with that said, this concludes my 10-point list on what EUC manufacturers need to improve in their wheels. However, we have already gone a long way with those wheels. Let me know what you think should be changed in EUCs. What would you like to see? And maybe we'll make another 10-point list sometime in the future. So, if you're still here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.